I'll introduce our very special keynote speaker this morning, Renata. Is a descendant of Tainui, Ngāpuhi, Ngai Te Rangi, and European heritage. utilises mātauranga, tikanga Māori, technical knowledge and industry experience to influence engineering practice and solutions.
Tēnā tātou katoa. Zero Waste, nui te mihi kia koutou. It's a privilege to be speaking with you and be amongst champions who advocate for zero waste. And again, just appreciate moto whakaaro over the last couple of days about understanding cultural diversity and the value that can bring into the space. Also, the acknowledgement of the importance of partnerships. That's really key. And so, again, appreciate your your thoughts and your kōrero around those topics, which essentially feed in what I want to speak about today. But as introduced, he uri au no Tainui Ngāpuhi, me Ngai Te Rangi, engari e tipu aki o ki tāmaki, so I hail from the King Country in the Waikato, the mighty north in Kaikohe, and the serene Tauranga Moana, which I love, but was raised in Auckland. But he māmao he kaipūkaha o, the word for engineer, kaipūkaha o, he tauira o. I'm a mum, an engineer, and also a PhD student. And so kei te mahi au I te ao wai, and so I specialise in process engineering, so mainly deal with wastewater infrastructure during the day, I say, and by night I'm a PhD student. So amongst juggling two little ones, I decided to also tackle the education system. And so I'm trying to challenge accreditation standards within engineering to change how we practice through a Te Ao Māori lens. Nō reira, my kōrero today is about going beyond the bin, so beyond diversion rates and beyond just managing outputs. And so it's about asking, what is waste? What is waste trying to tell us about the imbalance in our systems, and how do we restore that balance? And so again, there was a whakaaro mentioned about that cultural intelligence, and so today I am bringing you a Te Ao Māori version of that. And I just want to put a disclaimer that it is impossible to capture a whole world view in a couple of slides. So I just want to stress that it is a snippet of what the world that I live in or operate in on a day-to-day basis as we deal with parakore. Cool. So, as you can imagine, all of us understanding that waste is not just rubbish, it's a warning sign. So every piece of para or waste is evidence left behind when relations are broken. So between producer, consumer, between people and whenua, between the present and the future. So the challenge is not just how we get rid of waste, the challenge is what imbalance does para or waste reveal, and how do we put that balance right? So to anchor my kōrero today are these three whakatauki which are used synonymously. Ko au te awa, ko te awa ko au. I am the river is me. Ko au te whenua, ko te whenua ko au. I am the land is me. Ko au te taiao, ko te taiao ko au. I am the environment is me. And so these whakatauki remind us that there is no separation between us and the environment. We are one. And so it's a reflection, in essence, of our own well-being. So when the awa is healthy, we are healthy. When the whenua is thriving, we are thriving. When there is a taiao that is unbalanced, that imbalance shows up in us, in our tinana, our bodies, our wairua, and also in our communities. And so this whakatauki really captures how waste is a mirror, and it reflects the state of our relationships with land, with people, and with each other. So again, when we see para, we're not just seeing rubbish, we're seeing a reflection of ourselves, and the question becomes, in essence, or how we drive ourselves, the question that navigates this is this a reflection we want our mokopuna to inherit, so our children to inherit? So Whakapapa is the foundation the foundation in which I govern myself within this space anyway. But Whakapapa is often explained as genealogy, but it's so much more than that. It's not just about family trees, it's about the layering of relationships. So everything has a whakapapa. Our kai, our food, our whenua, our land, our awa, our river, rocks, you name it. Everything has a whakapapa, even the laptop or the computers that I'm operating off right now. So the metals from the Ruomoko, the god of earthquakes, volcanoes and seasons, or oil from Tangaroa, the god of the sea, and energy from Tāwhiri Mātia, the winds, the weather. It all has a place and a purpose. And because of that, whakapapa allows us to ask these three questions. Do we know where this comes from? Do we know where it belongs? And do we know its purpose? So when we forget whakapapa, things become disconnected or meaningless or wasted. But when we remember whakapapa, even the small and ordinary things have a place and a purpose. It becomes sacred again. So what happens when when whakapapa is forgotten? So waste is what happens, is when whakapapa is broken. So we think about a bottle in a landfill, laser, cue now. Tangaroa's whakapapa abandoned. Food scraps sealed in plastic. It's that nutrients denied from papatūnuku, you see. Another one, steel rusting in a heap, Raumoku's gift to us disconnected. So para is, again, whakapapa forgotten, and waste is what happens when things are left without belonging, without connection, and without place. But what happens when we remember? Para disappears, ne? So composting is kai returning again to papatūnuku. It's that whakapapa completing itself. Repairing clothes is whanaungatanga. It's about honouring the land, the makers, and even the whānau, or the people that wear it. And recycling glass, for example, is a continuation, so it's reshaping and not discarding. So again, these are not just technical solutions, they're acts of remembering. And so they say to us, this still has a place, a purpose, a whakapapa, and when we act that way, it shifts from outputs to balance, from para to mauri, mauri being that life force or that life essence. So if we look at like a traditional contemporary version, traditionally Māori lived in closed loop systems, so nothing was wasted, so tauinga, those wastes or remains, always returned to papatūnuku, to awa, to moana, or the origins which they came from. And tikanga, those practices and protocols, was what guided in terms of what was taken, used and given back. And so today we call this zero waste, but parakore is not innovation, it's ancestral memory, and it's tupuna led, so ancestrally led. And so the real provocation is this: we once lived in balance, we had systems where nothing was wasted, so the question is not can we do it, the question is why did we lose it and how do we return? So if we have a look at the waste hierarchy, and again this is a piece of research that I did as part of my engineering studies, and the whole purpose of that study was to come up with or look at current waste models and just assess them against Te Ao Māori values. And part of assessing the waste hierarchy developed this Te Ao Māori influence, and I say influenced because it's a retake on what that might look through a Te Ao Māori lens. Again, it isn't static, the model that has been produced, so I produced here. It's something that I hope continues to involve like our mātauranga, right? Like I really do hope that our kura kaupapa kids come in and look at this and say, hey, there's a better version of this, and abolish it and rebuild it again. Okay, but for now, it articulates kind of that restoration to balance. So anyway, if we look at the waste management hierarchy, it's been used to approach waste management since the 1980s. So it's pretty old. But at the bottom of the hierarchy, it goes, as you can see, that least favoured option, managing waste, where the focus is around diversion. And then at the top of the hierarchy, that rethink and design, where the preferred option is the avoidance of waste. But the complete and utter stark difference of these two models is between what drives them both. So where the waste hierarchy is product driven, and then we have our Te Ao Māori concept model, which is driven by the environment, by resources. And so, again, I don't want to diminish the fact that the waste hierarchy has had its purpose for reduce, reuse, recycle. It's helped improve how we handle para, but it hasn't really addressed, again, it's about management, it hasn't really addressed how we deal with mauri or the resource, or looking at it through that lens. So through a Te Ao Māori lens, I will just take you through it real quickly. Some of you may have come across it, but for those who haven't, I'll just recap a little bit. But at the, and it's purposely like that, like a mountain, it's harder to get to the top. You know, you start a little bit and your legs get sore and more sore, and you're thinking, I can't get there, but then you push a little bit further. And so that's, again, just trying to reflect the maunga and the journey that's required to get there. But if we start at the bottom tier of the hierarchy with remediate and recalibrate, so, and when harm is done, we have to put things right. Okay, there's that restoration of thing. It presents an opportunity for us to reassess our priorities and establish a set of values grounded in proactive resource management. If we tear up, restrict, reduce and reharmonise, but it's to honour natural limits. So we have to restrict and reduce extraction, and in doing so can reharmonise human activity with those ecological rhythms that are already present. And so again, those two tiers, restrict, reduce, reharmonise, are an opportunity for us within the industry to establish our own tikanga and cover our own practices and protocols, where we re-envision not as waste but as resource. And then if we move up a tier, we restore and replenish. So what is taken must be restored for future abundance. So again, it's an opportunity to act in that reciprocal nature with environment. I am the river is me. We work in tandem. What do we give? What we give, we take, we give back. That reciprocal nature. And so again, just highlighting that interdependency that we have with nature. And then at the very top, we have regenerate, so that ecosystems and life can flourish. And so it's allowing Taio to be Taio, because in essence it's a living system and it's a reflection of our well-being. So again, it's an opportunity to create those conditions for collective flourishing as a whole system. So again, this is not control, this is whakapapa in action, and it's a framework about restoring balance. I also just want to make a disclaimer. I had feedback on this a while ago when I first presented this. I was preaching a religion, so I just want to disclaim that I am not. So if we can elevate our thoughts to principally what this is trying to get at, I'd appreciate that. But thought I'd disclaim that. Anyway, this is again like the actual definitions from this framework, and I'm sure we'll share these slides later with you. But just again, wanted to re-emphasise how it's a restoration of balance here. So, if whakapapa shows us connection, and the hierarchy, what we just saw there, shows us pathways, how do these cycles like live and breathe, right? The pragmatism of it. How do they live and breathe? They live through what we call or Atua, or atuatanga. So they're not just distant myths in Māoritanga, they're personifications of processes. So living teachers of balance. And what I wanted to do was just maybe highlight a few atua that we all may know, and principally draw what they can teach us about para. There we go. So in the ngāhere, nothing is wasted. So if you see a fallen rākau, it becomes home for fungi, food, for insects, soils, for seedlings. So Tainui Mahuta shows us balance, or shows us abundance. So true balance comes when our systems give back more than what they can take. So forests don't manage waste, they restore life. And again, imagine if our systems mirrored the ngāhere, not just reducing harm, but regenerating mauri. Again, that life essence. We have Papa Tūnuku. Papa Tūnuku receives everything, the beautiful and the harmful, and she transforms it all back into life. So Papa Tūnuku reminds us of reciprocity. So to take only what is needed, return what is taken, so life continues in abundance. So she restores by transforming, she restricts by setting limits, and she asks us if I can turn everything back into life, if I can turn everything back into life, why can't we, or why can't you? Hine nui te pō, or hine titama. But hine nui te pō I just wanted to talk about in terms of reharmonising. So hine nui te pō, the atua of night and endings, receives us all back into Papa Tūnuku. So she reminds us that endings are not waste. They have rhythms that restore balance. So end-of-life pathways for products, for systems, for ourselves should be designed not for disposal but for return. And when we honour those endings, we restore that harmony. Ruaumoko. So he stirs the earth, his eruptions break. But in the breaking they create new whenua. And so there lies in the principle, Ruaumoko challenges us. Yeah? Sometimes systems must fracture to reset the balance. And so to remediate is to face harm and not be afraid of it. It's to recalibrate to find that balance again. And it's not failure, it's transformation. Okay, there's a purpose for it. I'm coming up to my last slides, and this is part of the challenge that I wanted to leave with you. Again, what if success in zero waste was not measured by diversion rates, but in mauri restored? And what that actually looks like is another kōrero. But what if our strategies were not just about outputs, but about reweaving whakapapa, remembering? And what if the real work was not managing para, but restoring balance in our systems, in our communities, and in ourselves? So again, wanted to leave with this: we are a reflection of our environment. Para is a reflection of us, and that kind of sucks to say, to be honest, because you see it everywhere, but it just shows the failure in our systems. Ko te awa, ko te awa ko au. I'm the river is me. I am the land is me. Ko te taio ko au. I'm the environment is me. So the answers are like already here. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The answers are in Whakapapa, in Atua, in the Tainui. So again, para is imbalance, Whakapapa is balance. Our task again is not to reinvent anything, but to remember. So to go beyond the bend and to restore balance for our mokopuna. Nō reira, tēnā tātou katoa.